welcome to the Faith and Gratitude Speaker Series, an educational program designed to bring you new insights on cancer wellness. We focus on practitioners and specialists that have an integrative, holistic approach to treating cancer and want you to have the opportunity to hear their views firsthand. This series is part of our ongoing commitment to providing empowerment and education to cancer patients during treatment and beyond. Today, Dr. Monisha Bhanote, quintuple board-certified physician and best-selling author, will share her thoughts and knowledge as she creates delicious, immune-boosting recipes. An expert in integrative lifestyle medicine, functional culinary medicine, and cytopathology, Dr. Bhanote is deeply rooted in health, wellness, and is the visionary founder of WELLKULA.
Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Monisha Bhanote and I am here today with Faith and Gratitude nonprofit foundation, and I'm so grateful that they came into my home to learn and for me to be able to share with their community everything I know and have learned about cancer. And I just want to give you a little bit of background about who I am. I am a quintuple board certified medical doctor, and what that means is I've studied a lot. I've studied a lot about how the human body works. In fact, I've studied so much that I've diagnosed close to 1 million cancers. Well, what have I studied? Anatomic pathology, clinical pathology, cytopathology, culinary medicine, and integrative medicine. Let me tell you what those things are, just in case you're wondering. Anatomic pathology is the pathology or examination of tissue inside the human body. This is what we're doing when we're looking at tissue cells under the microscope and diagnosing cancer. Clinical pathology is anything from body fluids, blood, all that kind of stuff, which also can have cancer. Cytopathology is looking at individual single cells, and yes, I have diagnosed cancer looking at single individual cells under the microscope. And then we have integrative medicine, which really takes a holistic approach to how we heal the body, using all aspects from mind, body, and spirit to really heal an individual. And lastly, we have culinary medicine. Culinary medicine is looking at how food can really be your medicine if you know how to use it right. So just to give you some perspective, I always like to carry around my cell model with me. So imagine this, you have 37 trillion cells in your body. And with those cells, every day they are replicating. So why do some become cancer and then some don't? How come some individuals can fight off cancer and others can't seem to do it? Well, there's a lot at play here, and there's not just one single thing. But I want to try and describe one of the main factors that we experience, and that would be oxidative stress. So every day we are exposed to factors, environmental factors, lifestyle factors, whether that's dietary, exercise, and all of that can impact oxidative stress in the body. When oxidative stress occurs, it damages our cells. The body has circulating free radicals which come and cause damage to the cells and attack the cells. One of the major places we see damage is in the nucleus, and the nucleus is what houses your DNA. So the DNA doesn't know how to replicate in a healthy way. When the DNA does not know how to replicate in a healthy way, it continues to grow in an abnormal way, ultimately becoming something known as dysplasia or low-grade cancer, involving and evolving into invasive carcinoma. So what are some of the things that you can do to address oxidative stress? Well, it comes down to your lifestyle. So one of the things that I have done for decades is I have sat in a tumor board room, and this is where I, as the pathologist and the oncologist and the surgeon and the radiation team all come together to look at what is going on in this individual and their tumor. As you may not know, a pathologist is actually the individual who diagnoses cancer. So we are looking at your cells under the microscope. Basically, anything that's taken out of the human body gets looked at under the microscope. So when we do that, we are examining it for what different kind of tumor it is, so then the oncologist or the radiation team can then give it treatment. So with that, when I say there's cancer, There are all different kinds of cancer, and not one cancer ends up being the same. When I think of my breast cancer patients that have had cancer, I see 30 different types of cancer, and all of them requiring a little bit different treatment. Same thing with colon cancer. There's so many different types of colon cancer, lung cancer, prostate cancer. All of these cancers can vary. But one of the things I realized is, after decades of doing this, that individuals need to know more. They need to know what can they do to empower themselves after maybe they had their surgery, after they had their chemo, and after they had their radiation. We have a lot more power than we realize. We need to be able to share with patients what they can do for themselves to keep themselves and their cells healthy and happy. With that, one of the things that I realize that is very important is our lifestyle and how we take care of our cells. So one of the key things that we do every single day is thinking about what we eat, how we move, how we sleep, and how we think. These are all very important holistic strategies to taking care of your health, whether you have cancer, had cancer, or want to prevent it altogether. So since we all have to eat every single day, I want you to realize what you eat can make a difference in your body. We do know now that things like antibiotics, processed food, poor diets, ultimately can lead to stress and inflammation in the body. Now, that inflammation can create DNA instability. When the DNA is unstable, what can happen? It doesn't replicate the way it should, and ultimately it can lead to cancer. So how do we keep our cells happy and healthy? Well, we eat the right kinds of food. So today I'm going to talk to you about recipes that can keep your gut healthy and happy, and ultimately give you some options for creating a better microbiome. Something you might not realize is that you have microbiota, which can be anything from bacteria to viruses to yeast inside your GI tract. And some of them are good and some of them not so good. Guess who controls them? You do. So we really want the good guys, and we want the good guys with what we feed them, right? So what we feed them is going to influence what kind of bacteria we have in our GI tract. And guess what? You actually have more bacteria in your body than you do human cells. So what do those bacteria do? Well, they're responsible for helping you digest your food, create vitamins, minerals, proteins, all these different things to fight disease. Some of the factors that I look at when I'm evaluating an individual in my clinic is their gut health. And often I find there's a few factors going on. Whether you're before cancer diagnosis, during, or after, the gut is very important to your healing. So one of the factors I'm looking at is maldigestion. Maldigestion can mean you might be eating the best diet ever, but your body is not able to absorb those nutrients. The second thing I want to look at is inflammation. So the major antibody produced by the GI tract lining cells is IgA. And often what I see is when a person's intestinal tract is inflamed, that doesn't allow for effective communication between the cells. In fact, the cells, the enterocytes that line the GI tract lining cells, become something that we call leaky, or really they become hyperpermeable, which allows things to enter that we might not want to enter. The third thing we are looking at is dysbiosis. And what does dysbiosis mean? Well, remember those friendly bacteria that I told you about? If you have bad bacteria that you don't want in there, they can become dysbiotic. Some of the key things that we see that create a dysbiosis is a lot of antibiotic use, as well as medication use. In fact, chemotherapy sometimes can create a dysbiosis if you don't know how to support your gut. So we want to make sure that we are allowing for the good gut bacteria to grow. Next up is going to be your metabolite factors. In fact, one of the ones I want you to know about is short-chain fatty acids. Short-chain fatty acids help keep inflammation down in your GI tract lining. Another one there is beta-glucuronidase. Well, too much beta-glucuronidase is not such a good thing. In fact, high levels have been associated with prostate cancer, colon cancer, and breast cancer. So that is definitely one thing you want to be aware of. And lastly is pathogens. In fact, sometimes people can be walking around with bugs that they just don't realize. So getting all of this tested is a key to understanding your gut health. So the variety in foods and ultimately getting about 50 different plant foods a week is going to be our goal. So let's get started. So the first recipe we are going to do today is a rose-infused basil seed pudding with dragon fruit, mango, and blueberries. So the one thing I want you to know about recipes is it's not about learning just one recipe. You're going to see today that we are going to show you all different kinds of ingredients, and really the idea is to get as much whole plant foods as you can into your body in a week. So in this, one of the key ingredients that you might not be aware of is basil seeds. They look a lot like chia seeds, but they're actually basil seeds. What I love about basil seeds is that they have anti-inflammatory, antioxidant properties, which means that, well, remember that oxidative stress I talked about earlier? They can help fight that when you're eating them. We are going to also look at dragon fruit. Dragon fruit is another key compound that we are going to be using here. Frankly, I don't have dragon fruit in the house right now, so we're going to use dragon fruit powder, which you can get year-round. Here we have high levels of vitamin C, which I'm sure you've heard vitamin C is very important for fighting off cancer and building your immune system. Then we have some rose water. This is organic rose water that I have in here just for a little bit of flavor. Lastly, we've got some mango and blueberries, and I'll talk about them shortly. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get started with our coconut base. You know, why I love coconut is coconut has lauric acid. There was a 2017 study that showed that it can contribute to apoptosis. What does apoptosis mean? It means cell death, which can be great for the research that they saw with breast cancer and endometrial cancer. So that's why I love about adding coconut milk to the ingredients. Now we're going to add basil seeds. So these are our basil seeds. You can see they look just like chia seeds, but they're a little bit darker and definitely have, I would say, 2 times the amount of potassium, 2 times the amount of fiber, and even more nutrients than you would normally see in chia seeds. So the first thing you're going to want to do here when you're making this recipe is really get your basil seeds mixed in with the coconut milk as much as you can. Okay, the next ingredient that we are going to add is the dragon fruit powder. Another name for dragon fruit is pitaya, and a 2017 study showed that pitaya may contribute to the inhibition of cancer cell growth in breast cancer cells. Plus, it has this gorgeous pink coloring in it, so who wouldn't want to add some of this to their food? And remember once again that vitamin C that is found in high concentrations in pitaya can actually help with the immune system. So look at this gorgeous color that our basil seed pudding is now getting. Right now it's just a blend of coconut, dragon fruit, and basil seeds. And the last ingredient I'm going to add in here is the organic rose water, just to give it a little bit of a rose-infused flavor. And what we want to do is we want to blend this till it sits for, I would say, give it about 10 minutes, where we're going to let it sit in the refrigerator before we then plate it. So if you can't wait for that basil seed pudding to get ready, one of the things you can do is stick it in a blender. So that's exactly what I did because I really wanted to eat it. So what happens when you put it in a blender is it becomes a nice mousse. Look at that right there. So that has blended really nicely with our coconut milk. So we've got a basil seed, coconut, rose infused, dragon fruit kind of pudding with this really creamy-like texture. And then the last thing left to do is now you want to top it with whichever toppings you have. So I have today, mangoes are in season and blueberries are in season. So I'm just going to add some mangoes and some blueberries and then give it a try. We all know that blueberries are really good for us, but one thing you might not know is that blueberries have been shown under molecular analysis to alter gene expression to the point that they can influence the way your genes function, metastasis, and inflammation. The other ingredient that we included is mangoes. There was a small study done that showed that even a low consumption of mangoes can contribute to cell cancer death. So there you have it, your rose-infused dragon fruit basil seed pudding with blueberries and mango. That's really good. So our next recipe is going to include tofu. And I've heard some of you guys are afraid of tofu because you don't really know how to cook it and you're not sure about the texture. Well, I promise you that this recipe is going to be one of the easiest ones you're ever going to make. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's going to be your next favorite when it comes to tofu. So we are going to make a tofu waffle avocado toast. So the reason I love tofu is that, one, it's a source of protein, a plant-based protein, which is really important for maintaining the body. Now, many misconceptions and myths come around eating tofu, and I want to tell you, you don't need to worry about it. In fact, individuals who ate more tofu had a lower incidence of breast cancer and prostate cancer, as well as recurrence. So you're definitely going to want to add this to your repertoire. So one of the easiest things you can do is get yourself a waffle maker, and we have one right here. And what I've done is I have the waffle maker, ooh, did you see that steam, already ready and heated up. I have taken our tofu and sliced it into a very wide slice, so it essentially, when we put it down, it will become like a waffle. So when you are buying tofu, I want you to look for organic, non-GMO tofu, okay? What I did was I took an entire block and I sliced it into 4. You might only see 3 because, well, I already ate one. So with that, we're just gonna keep it in the waffle griddle for about 6 minutes until it is ready and crisp. All right, so once your waffle is nice and toasty, take it out of your waffle pan. Now, doesn't that look like a regular waffle? So what are you gonna do with your waffle is you are gonna make the avocado toast, right? So you can take some sliced avocado, put it on here however you like. The other thing I like to add is red onions, and I thinly sliced some red onions. So red onions are known to have quercetin in it, and what's great about quercetin is that they can attract those free radicals that cause oxidative stress. So they can attract those and get rid of that and contribute to apoptosis. Avocados also contain a compound called lutein, which can be protective against cancer. A 2023 study found that 1 serving a week of avocados helped reduce the risk of cancer in lung, bladder, and colorectal cancers. So have yourself some avocado tofu. Now, what would be some avocado tofu without just a little bit of hot sauce? So if you can handle the hot, I would definitely recommend adding some of the hot sauce, preferably sriracha if you like that. And there we have it, some tofu avocado toast. Looks pretty good if you ask me. Next up, we are going to make a veggie spring roll, and this is where I really give you the freedom to choose the veggies you like. You're going to see a variety that I'm incorporating because I'm trying to get as much color into one meal as possible. So I want you to eat the rainbow, not the Skittles kind. Red, orange, green, yellow, blue, indigo, violet from your fruits and veggies. So first up, we have some cucumber. What I love about cucumber is that it is high in vitamin K, which is great for bone health, as well as it keeps you hydrated due to its high water content. And then next up, we have got some purple cabbage. What I love about purple cabbage is its compounds, anthocyanins and sulforaphanes. Well, we know that both can contribute to health by lowering inflammation as well as breast cancer and colorectal cancer. Additionally, purple cabbage has soluble fiber, which is great to help your body produce short-chain fatty acids. Now, I might have mentioned them earlier. Short-chain fatty acids are produced by your gut bacteria, and what they do is they help lower inflammation. The next two ingredients I'm going to talk to you about is sprouts over here and watercress. Both of them also fall into the cruciferous vegetable family, which once again will help lower inflammation. So in order to make our spring rolls, we're going to get ourselves some rice paper. So this is a rice paper that you can find in the Asian food section of your grocery store. I'm going to take the rice paper and I'm just going to put it into some warm water to soften it up. You don't want to put it in for too long because it could get too soft and you might not be able to fold it up. Then next we are going to layer the veggies. So I've got some cucumbers there, some purple cabbage, carrots, avocado slices, and then we've got some sprouts. And then my dark leafy greens that I've got today are some watercress and some cilantro. So you can use whatever you might have in the house. So when you're ready, you're just going to take this, roll it up, make it really, really tight, fold up the ends. And then there you have it, a veggie spring roll. So our next recipe is going to be a simple miso soup. What I love about miso soup is you can actually eat it any time of the day. So our ingredients here are going to be miso. I have a red miso paste that I'm using. What I love about miso is fermented soy, and fermentation is really good for your gut health. Remember those bacteria we talked about earlier? Your bacteria in your gut microbiome will thank you when you're feeding them more friends that they like. Additionally, miso has a compound called genistein. This is actually in all soy compounds, and this compound has been shown to cut blood supply towards cancer cells. So it's a great addition and super easy to make. Next up, we have bok choy. Two of the compounds that I want to mention in bok choy is folate and selenium. Folate is really important to help repair DNA, especially when it's damaged. Selenium also is beneficial to help detoxify the body of compounds that you just don't want there. Plus, bok choy has the good fiber to feed your gut microbiome. And then I'm going to add in some nori seaweed as well as some gluten-free brown rice noodles, just for a little bit of bite so you can chew on it. So let's get started. So this is really simple to make. All you're going to do is prepare your bok choy, and if you want, you can even leave it in these bigger size pieces. Just pull it apart and it will go right into your soup. So this is really minimal prep work required. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to essentially add our miso paste to some boiling water. And what I find the easiest thing to do to help the miso paste really blend is to use a whisk to kind of whisk it down. So next up, we are going to add our bok choy to our cooked noodles and miso soup. Put that in for a few minutes, and then also add our chopped nori and let that cook just for a few seconds. Bring it down. I don't cook the greens for that long, just enough to have that vibrant color going and just to soften them just a little bit. And there you have it, some simple miso soup with bok choy, nori, and noodles. I want to thank Faith and Gratitude today for being in my home. Their mission to empower individuals with cancer from a mind, body, and spirit approach is exactly what I believe in. They also happen to have a great resource guide that you can get at their website, faithandgratitude.org. So if you're dealing with cancer or you know somebody that is, please go grab your copy today.
Thank you for joining us today. You can learn more about Dr. Bhanote, her research, retreats, and lifestyle programs at drbhanote.com. At this time, we would especially like to thank our sponsors for making this speaker series possible. For more education and empowerment during your journey to better health, visit us at faithandgratitude.org.